Imagine just trying to fit in, be a part of the group, and taking drugs at age 8. The All Eyes on Me podcast is the true story of Vincent Lilly, his struggle with drugs, addiction, recovery, and onward to hope and health. Be ready to experience another world. Here's author Kevin Zadrill and Vincent Lilly.
Hello, welcome back. My name is Kevin Zadrill, and I'm the host of this podcast, All Eyes on Me, a true story of addiction, recovery, and hope. And with us today is Vincent Lilly.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going great. Good to have you back again, Vincent. I thought it'd be great to kind of circle back a little bit and discuss more on recovery, something that you've gone through on several occasions and certainly have been a good mentor for other people. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity here just for your insight, because it's talked about a lot within the book on recovery and really what that means and entails for people, because I know it's different for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big struggles for a lot of the treatment facilities and all that kind of thing, is the fact that when it comes to recovery, obviously everybody's situation is unique, so it's really hard to tailor to every single different person. But what it ultimately comes down to is the willingness and to deal with it on your own, to make that decision on your own, and then going in and willing to face everything that comes at you on your own with your own decision without someone trying to push you, or because that makes a great difference, I think. And
there's different strategies for recovery too. I think you've been through several different types.
Oh yeah, there's definitely different strategies and definitely different beliefs on how it should be done. But I wouldn't say that any one of them was better than the other. I think that it's great that there's lots of different kinds, because, like I just said, there are plenty of different people when they are different, all unique situations. So some person can find one that will work for them and it won't work for the other.
And that sort of means for that person seeking treatment, is it just a matter of making that first step to get into treatment? Is that the starting point?
For sure. I think for sure it's it definitely starts with being 100% ready to make that commitment, because there's no such thing as being halfway in, halfway out, because I've been there, and trust me, it doesn't work. Being halfway in, halfway out, it's like, for instance, there's going to be these clients for these treatment facilities that are doing it for certain reasons. Like, let's say their kids got taken away from CFS. So let's say CFS is saying, this is what you have to do in order to start the process of getting your kids back. Or someone's getting out of jail, they're getting bail from jail to a treatment facility, and they're being expected to follow certain conditions in order to, deal with their charges. In situations like these, this is like a halfway in, halfway out situation, because they're basically being told that you got to do this in order to get that. And like I said, it has to be a decision that's made from within 100%, not any other than that.
So someone that's all the way in, goes through treatment, comes back out, what would be some advice to keep it successful? Because I know it's difficult.
Yeah, I think that one of, I say three of the things that keeps a lot of people stuck is that, they've lived so many years in the problem with the drugs and alcohol that, they build habits and behaviors around what it is that they do, and it just becomes them, and so I think people, places, and things are three of the things that are something that has to be addressed and changed, especially upon being released from a treatment center, because those are the things that are main triggers for people.
And for you, that meant when we met was at Pan Am Place. And that sort of got you out of that people, places, and things, right? That was finally a significant change in your life.
One of the reasons why Pan Am Place is a choice for people who struggle with addiction stabilization.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just think that the expectations there are a little more higher And I think that's good because you don't want someone who comes out of treatment to become comfortable. Like, not like, yeah, you don't want them to just be comfortable, right? You want them to be still stuck in that mode that they're in when they're in treatment. Because if they're not, then it'll allow their brain to have those chances to start thinking about those old thoughts, those old behaviors and that. And you want to keep them in that frame of mind that they're in when they're in the treatment center.
So does it really mean a break away from old acquaintances and old locations? Is that something that's often a fall?
For sure. That's for me, that was something that was huge for me because like I was saying, the point I was trying to make about these habits and these behaviors that become us, we go back to what we know, right? And so those people, places, and things are the things that we know and are our comfort zones because we've been doing them for so many years. So it's really learned. It's like kind of like a learned behavior, right? It's over and over again. You have repetition of people, places, and things, and you got to unlearn that stuff. So in order to unlearn that stuff, you can't be going. You have to change it completely.
And I think people should expect setbacks after treatment. It's not a sure
Oh,
thing.
yeah. That's one of the things that people in treatment need to accept is the fact that they obviously, as much as we'd love to be perfect, perfection is unattainable. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be trying to strive to be perfect because you need to realize that failures are a part of this process.
And what's a good support network for someone that's trying to maintain that sobriety?
I think it definitely starts with family. If you're involved with any sort of religious religious stuff, then you can definitely use that for sure. Whether it be God or whether it be native teachings or whatever. But I would say, yeah, family and faith and would be the two strongest ones.
And there's a lot of stigma with addictions, and I think it paints a picture of someone and not always in a positive light. How can we break that so that we can realize these are real people with a real issue?
Well, unfortunately, I think that stigma is always going to be around, but it's not to lose sight. With that being said, not to lose sight of the fact that we can still change it and how it's been dealt with and how it's been looked at. And the best way to do that, I think, is just to stay your course and do what you need to do for yourself and just be successful in that area. Because then the more of us that do it and succeed, then that's when, the stigma is going to change a little bit more because then people can't say, oh, well, look at this and look at that, right?
Mm-hmm. And you've been doing a lot of work with communities and groups to promote that, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure. I did a documentary about that, actually. I got invited into the documentary. It was called Addiction, It's Not What You See. And that had to do with the whole stigma thing about how people, they get caught up in the stigmas and how a lot of people allow the stigmas to actually drag them down and not to be successful in their addiction. But and that's one of the things that needs to be taught to people that are on that road is, that they're going to always have those people that are there that are going to be negative about that, but they need to realize that no matter how good you do in life, there's always going to be those people there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And addiction at its worst could be a lot that's fueling, criminal activity, crimes, which ends up leading to incarceration. And from your experiences in jail, that isn't or is, and we'll hear from you what your perspectives are while being incarcerated, if it's a chance to deal with it, or does it make it even worse?
For like being incarcerated?
Right, and your addiction.
it can be, it's not for sure one way or the other. It can help and it can hurt. But it all depends on the individual and where they are at in their journey. You know what I mean? I think that's the big part of it, is that it all depends on the person and where they're at in their journey. You know what I mean? Because for me, like the doctor said to me a few times, that it literally saved my life, because of the fact that my drug use and drinking slowed down because I was incarcerated, right? I didn't get to do it as frequently as I did when I was on the street. So had I been out on the street doing it every day like I was doing it, I probably would have been dead, or, like, really sick. So incarceration can help you, or it could hurt you. It depends on, the individual.
Yeah. So for parents and with young children, teenage children, what would sort of be some advice, some direction you can give them with their children who could be, if they notice that they're starting to get into that drug scene, alcohol scene?
Well, I would definitely say the most important thing is not to try and give them, not to try and yell at them or give them a really hard time about it, because I find that for myself, I basically just rebel against that, right? And so you want to obviously you want to try and just strengthen the relationship that you have with the child in order to gain their trust. And then, in these times of struggle, you want them to be able to feel comfortable to come to you if they ever need help or whatever, right? So I think that's the most important thing, is you want to just try and always strengthen your relationship with your kids. And yeah, definitely a lot of parents, they yell at their kids, or, get mad at them for the mistakes that they make, but they don't even realize that these mistakes are going to happen, man. You don't, I'm not saying that you don't want a kid to get into trouble, but it's going to happen, right? Kids are going to get into trouble. And then when they get into trouble, you're like, you get pissed off, but you got to understand that these things are going to teach them. These are the lessons they need to learn. Mm-hmm. And like they say, it's not the things that happen to you that define you. It's how you react to any given situation, right?
And it comes down to being supportive, and really that starts at the earliest of ages, right, with your children, to start as soon as you can to develop that trust, so that they're turning to you for advice and direction and disclosure, and not other people, right? That's going to lead them down the wrong path.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know in your book, that was one thing you did highlight quite often, was you rather have them coming to you to talk versus, going down the street and talking to someone who's going to maybe influence them more with drugs or substances. And that's who they're going to be, their support network.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things that I've heard that really stuck out in my mind was, if you want to change the world, you should start at home. So that just says it all right there. You know what I mean? Your home is where your heart is, and if your heart's not good, then you can't really be very much help to anybody.
Yeah, very true. As you find with your work in the communities, for in particular, men's resources, what's some of the advice, directions that you've been giving to help them? Because often they don't feel that they can seek help because it's not something that men should do.
Well, I think that's why a lot of these men's groups have started in the city, and just trying to encourage the young men to try and get involved in that kind of stuff, because we need to let them see that the old way wasn't working. You know what I mean? That the stuff that's been taught to our men and our kids and that, it doesn't work because it's not the way that it should be, right? We're all born the same, like we all have the same emotions, right? So like once you can actually truly face yourself and deal with your emotions and talk about them, it's completely beneficial in every area of your life. And that's just what I would say that I try and preach to kids, to tell them, that I teach my kids, like everything, it's okay if you cry. You can listen to sappy music, you can watch, doesn't matter what you watch on TV, right? Or you can like pink, you could wear a dress, boys wear dresses, like stuff like that. All that kind of stuff is the stuff you want to teach, right? Because, like they say, for instance, like racism, that's taught. Racism is taught. So, you shouldn't be teaching your kids what your beliefs are unless it's like positive, right? It's like, that's basically the kind of things you want to, start trying to teach to the kids, because there are a lot of young adults in this day and age that have learned these types of things from their parents, like racism or being homophobic or stuff like that, right? So it starts there at home to teach it and to change it. And it's been getting a lot better in society that to do with like being homophobic or to being racist. It's like, it's definitely had a big change with, and it started at people's homes.
What kind of advice then, when you go to the schools and you're speaking to the children, the kids in the schools, what's your message to them when you're standing in front of the class, and what's something that you really want to have stick with them? If there's even one point that it just resonates with these kids.
I think one of the main things that I like to say is, it starts with treating people how you want to be treated. You know what I mean? Because too many times these kids, a lot of the things that they see and they hear, they repeat. And so these things that they do and say are not even them. It's not even themselves doing it or saying it. They're just following. Mm-hmm. So, like it all boils down to, if someone, like I say to my kids, if my kid does something that I don't like to someone, I say to them, how would you feel if someone did that to you? So that's where it begins, is that you have to treat people how you want to be treated. And when it comes to teaching kids, that a lot of them they do what they see, right? And so like you want to try and just get them in that mode where they're making decisions for themselves and not just being a follower. Be a leader, not a follower, is what I say a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm. And I think by that you mentioned in the book too that it's giving kids the ability to think on their own and to learn on their own, to make decisions on their own.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the time that the way kids behave, and that has to do with how they feel about themselves. Because like the behavior in that, a lot of the kids, they don't even know that, just by calling someone stupid, they say, oh, I'm just joking, right? But they don't even realize it doesn't matter whether you're joking. You keep saying that enough to kids, they're going to believe it, because it's all about the internal tape that you play in your head. And these kids, this is where they're learning it. So they're playing that tape over and over again in their head. And this is what they start to make it true, and they start to believe about themselves. You know what I mean? Regardless whether it's true or not. I have a little bit of a struggle with my daughter right now, that she does that. She says the things over and over again to herself in her head, and ultimately makes it true, because what you say and what you think is what you will be. Mm-hmm. And so like these kids, they don't know. They say these words to kids, and they just say, oh, I'm just joking. But these kids, they hear it over and over again in their head at school. The kids are saying it at school and at daycare, and this is what they become. That's all. I'm just saying, like, I'm surprised that the schools, they don't have a positive affirmation little drill that they have in the schools, like at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, would literally take like 5 minutes. You have these words, these sayings that you get the kids to say. And I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but you literally have to brainwash yourself in order to unlearn the stuff that you've learned. So all they would have to do would be like the national anthem that they sing in the morning. I could recite that over and over again, no problem, because they burnt it into my head, right? Every morning, stand up for the national anthem, right? Well, what if they had the positive affirmations for the kids every single day, just like that? The kids they would learn that stuff every day, and it would be the words that they say to themselves over and over again, instead of these negative things that kids teach them. So yeah, I'm just surprised that they don't have something like that.
Wonderful. And before we wrap up, I thought if anyone listening right now who's struggling with their own addictions, and today is going to be a turning point, what would the one message you'd be saying to them right now as they're listening to make that change, to move forward?
I would say the most important thing is just to reach out when you're feeling those feelings of being down and stressed out or angry or hurt. That the most important thing is to reach out in those moments and don't hold it in, because too many of us do it. We stuff it down, right? Stuff it down. And those feelings, those emotions come out in other ways. You'll never just stuff it down. It won't go away until you talk about it. Let it out. So it doesn't even matter, even if it's just over Messenger or whatever, just reach out to somebody, you know what I mean? Tell them how you're feeling, and don't be ashamed, because we all go through struggles. And if anything, it takes a lot of courage and guts to come out and talk to people about what's going on. So don't be ashamed. Don't feel down about needing help. We all need help at some point in our life.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, I really, again, a pleasure, Vincent, being with you today. Very inspiring. Some emotional topics, but I think we need to talk about that, right? We need to be open about it. And I think the takeaway for sure from what you're saying today is be open, be there for others, and reflect within yourself of who you are as a person, who you want to be as a person.
Yeah. Don't shy away from your feelings, because they're always going to be there.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And want to thank everyone for listening today. We'll be back with more with our series on the book, All Eyes on Me. Thank you. Thanks, Vincent.